Hi guys, Dr. Loretta here. So by the end of this video today, you're going to learn how to raise mentally healthy kids. So one of the things you need to understand is that parenting needs and requires a lot of patience. As a parent, when you're raising your kids, you're not raising them just for the now, you're raising them for the future, and you're raising them to be independent individuals, individuals that can think for themselves, individuals that are entitled to their feelings, individuals that own their feelings, own their thoughts, own their behaviors. You're raising them to as individuals who are fully responsible for themselves. As you're leaving your kids all the financial investments that you're setting up, that you're creating, the bank accounts, the properties, this is one of the best gifts you can ever give your kids, to raise them to be mentally and emotionally healthy. This is a gift that would help them be successful in any and every area of their life. Raising your kids to be mentally healthy is the best gift you can give to a child. It is way more important than the financial investments, the landed properties, the bank account, because when you raise them to be mentally healthy, all these other things are just going to be additions down the road that will be easy for them to acquire when they are mentally healthy and mentally stable. Looking at the high rates of incidence in mental health and looking at how young we're starting to see people present with mental illness compared to in the past. People make the argument that this is more because people are speaking up now, there's more mental health awareness, which is true. However, even if that's the case, it also should be an awakening for us as parents to be able to sit up and be able to identify that raising your kids to be mentally healthy is one of the best things and the best gifts you can give them now, and also beneficial to you as the parent. Because if your kids are not mentally healthy and stable, it does not only affect that child, it also affects you as the parent. While other people argue that the increase we see in the incidence of mental health, mental illnesses around the world is as a result of high levels of stress around the world. But irrespective of whatever it is, be it the fact that there's increase in mental health awareness, or it's increase in level of stress around the world, or whatever it may be, irrespective of whatever the reason is, one thing that is a commonality that will help, irrespective of what the case is raising your kids to be mentally healthy. It doesn't matter how old your kids are right now. It's never too late to start. There's something my grandmother always says. She says, when you wake up, that's when your morning starts. Even if you've not done a very good job at raising mentally healthy kids, but now that you know better, you start better. You start from where you are at right now. You start from when you know. You start from when you had the awakening. Brooding over the fact that you've not raised your kids to be mentally healthy all along does not change anything for you at this point in time. The only thing that can change things for you from here on out is to start to be intentional in making those changes and being intentional with the goal of raising mentally healthy kids. I do have an ebook on how to raise mentally healthy kids. It's on Amazon, and I have the link to that book linked in the description below. Now, let's take you to the tips to help you raise mentally healthy kids. The first step to raise mentally healthy kids is for you as a parent to take care of your own mental health. If as a parent, you do have mental illness of any sort, it is imperative, it is very important for you to take care of your own mental health. If you've been through any kind of trauma, if you've been through your own child abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, what have you, as a parent, it is necessary for you to take care of your own mental health. Children who have experienced any adverse childhood event are more prone to mental illness and are more likely to raise unhealthy kids. So understanding and knowing this as a parent and making sure that that trauma that you've experienced does not rub off on your kids, you're being intentional to treat and heal your trauma, to treat and manage any mental illness that you're currently experiencing. They say hurt people hurt people. And that's so true because they speak, they act, they think through their pain. And if you've not healed that pain, you would unconsciously relate with your kids. You will unconsciously treat your kids, act towards your kids. Your thoughts around your kids are only going to be hurtful thoughts that will end up hurting those kids and not benefiting them at the end of the day. And being that any adverse childhood event puts you more at risk for mental health disaster, if your children do not have a good upbringing, a good, stable home environment, then that puts them more at risk for experiencing any mental illness. Parents also have the ability to transfer their values, their belief systems, their fears on their kids. Think about yourself and think about majority of the things you fear. When you look around your family structure, you would definitely see that fear in either a parent, a grandparent, someone in your immediate environment. Because guess what? A person is a product of their environment. And when I say a person is a product of their environment, it can be a two-way street. A person is a product of their environment in the sense that they imbibe every and anything that they learn from their environment, which most times could be the negative things. Of course, they can absolutely imbibe the positives too, right? A person also being a product of their environment can also be in the light of they experienced an adverse event in their environment and they make a resolution within themselves to not replicate that adverse event in their environment. However, the latter is more likely than the former, which is they tend to imbibe that negativity from their environment versus being more able to be like, no, I'm not going to repeat this in my lineage. Why? Because they don't know better. They learn a way, which is what they are familiar with. And what happens to things we're familiar with? We are more drawn to familiar things, right? Because we don't like new things. We don't like changes. We're more drawn to the familiar, to what's more comfortable for us. And as weird as that might sound, if pain is where they found their solace because that's all they've known all their life, guess what? They are more likely to be drawn to pain even in adulthood. Talking about parents transferring their fears on their kids, think about the things that your parents feared. They feared you getting hurt. And because of it, they raised you to be more cautious. Oh, don't go outside so that you don't fall. Don't ride on this bike so that you don't fall. They do this. And as a child, guess what? After listening to that over and over again, you end up finding out that those things that your parents, which come from a place of love, right? Not a place of hurt, have done in terms of raising you to keep you safe now ends up being the things that you fear most. 2, do not ever use the one-size-fits-all model when raising your kids. No two kids are the same. If you're a parent, look at your children. You will notice that every one of your child has their own unique individuality. And because they have their own unique individuality, you cannot use the same model that you use to raise that quiet child to raise that loud child. Because what ends up happening is that you end up curbing that child's ability. Now, the child who is naturally a loud child is now forced to start to become something and somebody that they are not, which ends up creating some conflict in identity and struggles with that child. And that child, when they find that they're having a hard time being like the other child, who is much more easier for that one to just be quiet, to just be still, then you can see how there's a possibility of low self-image, shame, guilt, because they cannot fit into this narrative that you're forcing them into. This is one of the reasons why you as a parent need to understand each of your child so that that individuality can play a role in how you raise them to be the best version of themselves, not the best version of the model you have in your head as to how you want the kids to turn out. 3, spend time with your kids. In the world of today that we live in with the economic situation, there's that need for both parents to work and to be able to earn a living and to live a stable, healthy family life, right? Which is understandable. But irrespective of the fact that you work as a parent, you need to also remember that at the end of the day, it is your responsibility to raise that child. So make time for your children as much as you can, right? Of course, we understand that being a parent and working has its own demands, right? It's pulling you on two sides. You're trying to balance out the both. But irrespective of how you balance out the both, make sure that when it comes to your kids, you're not lagging in that area. Make sure when it comes to your kids, you're not lacking in that area, because how best would you know how to know your kids better if not by spending time with them? It's by spending time with them, hearing what they have to say, creating that bond that gives avenue for them to be able to open up to you, tell you things that they would want to tell you, right? Spend time with your kids. Create an avenue where you hear them out, not just them hearing you out all the time. This is really important, guys. This is really important. Hear your kids out so that your kids have a voice, versus you as a parent, you're doing the one telling and telling and telling and telling, and then you expect the child to do all the listening, and the child never gets an avenue to open up to you, to tell you what happened in school. And these are things that you can start to form as a habit at the early onset. From when they're like in kindergarten, you drop them off at school, you pick them up on your way home. Look, I always say you make time for what you value. Even if you're a working class parent and you own a business and you have this and you have that, you can always make available time to spend with the kids. Sometimes you can use one stone to kill two birds. You're going to pick those children up from school while you're driving them home. Use that as a bonding time. While you guys are in the car heading home, you're asking them, how was your day? What happened in school? Right? Even if it means you guys are still going to eat, right? You're going to eat lunch, you're going to eat dinner, you're going to eat breakfast. It doesn't have to be all meals. At least for me, I don't do all meals with my kids. But if you're able to do at least one meal in a day where you sit on the table with the kids and make it an avenue for everybody to be together as a family, not sitting on the table on your phone, but sitting down and you guys are discussing as a family, all technology aside. Find out what your kids love and try to spend time doing with each individual that thing that they like. If your son likes to play soccer, you take a ball, you go outside, the both of you are kicking the ball, and you guys are just, even if you're not talking, you're just spending time together. It creates that avenue for your kids to feel more comfortable and relaxed around you. If it means taking a walk with the one child and you guys are just talking as you walk, and make sure that this time that you're carving out as a you and that child's time is not the time for rebuke, right? Don't get me wrong, they might say something that will be an avenue to advise them, but let it not be a time for rebuke. Let it be more of a time of you listening while they do most of the talking. 4, keep your judgments in check. It is very important for you to keep your judgments in check, because if your child perceives you as a judgmental person, guess what? That child will not always feel comfortable coming to tell you something, most especially when it's something that they've done wrong, because they know that you're going to be judgmental towards them. And that's the last thing you want as a parent, where your child is not able to confide in you. Because if your child is not able to confide in you, guess what? It increases the likelihood of that child confiding in the wrong person. For you as a parent, if you're like, how do I know if I'm judgmental or not? Or I don't think I'm judgmental. You probably might not think that you're judgmental, but your kids think otherwise. For instance, myself, I got feedback from my kids, and for me to hear my kids telling me that I'm judgmental, that was a punch in the gut. It was, but it helped me because I'm like, oh, this is how my kids perceive me. And because of it, I'm being very intentional to put my judgmental attitude in check. Because like I said, I do want my kids to be able to confide in me, even when they do the worst of things. Because who best do you want them to confide in if not you? Because you're the best person to give them the best advice to help them succeed versus them talking to a stranger that you do not know, and you do not know what kind of advice that stranger is going to give to them. 5. Not every bad behavior requires punishment. Don't get me wrong, I am a believer of spare the rod and spoil the child. I am a believer of train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. However, there are some bad behaviors that you can let go and you don't have to punish the child. Again, we talked earlier on about your children being able to be comfortable to come and confide in you, and if they feel you're going to punish them, there's more likelihood they're not going to talk to you. Weigh the crime and see if it's worth punishing. If it's not that much of a big deal, you can let it go. You can let it go and use it as a teachable moment to advise that child. You do not have to punish every single time there is a bad behavior. Let's take a moment to pause right now. And if you're yet to, please like, please subscribe to my channel so that you can continue to get valuable content like this and you always get notified when I make a post. And please take this moment to share with your friends and your loved ones so they can join us on this journey to mental wellness. Share with any friend that you think that this video is going to be beneficial to. Share with any of your friends or loved ones that is a parent, because I promise you every and anybody will benefit from a video like this. 6. Do not dismiss them. Do not dismiss their emotions. Help them to explore their emotions. Normalize their emotions. As a parent, you're your child's first teacher. Validate their feelings and don't dismiss it. Unconsciously, we dismiss their emotions when they are going through an emotional state. We say things like, "Why are you angry? Stop crying." But that's how they feel. Instead, when they're experiencing some of those emotions, let them be. Let them express it how they want to express it. And when they get done, then you use that moment to teach them what lesson you were wanting to teach them. Or you sit them down and have a conversation with them about their emotion to explore what they are feeling. Because sometimes, most especially when they are much younger, they do not understand what they are feeling. It is just how they feel, and they are expressing it the way they think best. Sometimes expressing it can be throwing tantrums. And don't get me wrong, I'm a parent. I know that I've had moments where I overreacted when they are throwing tantrums, right? It is uncomfortable for you as a parent. But if you pay attention, most times the issue with their emotions and their behaviors doesn't have much to do with them or them expressing it. It has more to do with you as a parent. You're the one getting uncomfortable by that emotion, not them. And you're making them stop because you're uncomfortable. You're making them stop crying. You're telling them to stop crying because you're uncomfortable as a parent, not because that emotion is uncomfortable to the child. So you can see how unconsciously we're putting our own feelings onto them and imposing our own discomfort and our own pain and suffering on the child who is just expressing their emotion. Sometimes you can sit with them and talk to them. What are you feeling right now? Why do you feel this way? Because I said this. Why do you feel this way? Because I told you to go do your chores. And then they tell you how they truly feel, and you can use that moment to advise them or correct them in a nice and friendly manner, not yelling or shutting them down or dismissing their emotion. Or dismissing their emotion will be example. They tell you, "It hurts," and you're like, something as little as that, how can that hurt you, right? And dismissing their emotions that way, it's an invariable way of teaching them that their emotions don't matter. It's an invariable way of creating an avenue that unconsciously that child starts to feel guilt and shame for feeling some certain emotions and expressing their emotions. Give them permission to explore and express their emotions. Example, ask them, "Do you need to take some time to cool off and then we can talk about it, or we can revisit this situation?" Do not punish them for their emotions. You can punish them for a behavior, but not their emotions. Like you're punishing the child because they're angry. That's their emotion. You're punishing a child because they're crying. Come on now. You can punish some certain behavior, like say for instance, they were angry and they hit their sibling. You punish the fact that they hit their sibling and also make it very clear to them while you're punishing them or before punishing them so that they understand that mommy, daddy is punishing you because you hit your brother, not because you're angry. Because again, the kids are growing and they don't understand their emotions. You do not want to send a mixed message to them where they think that they are being punished because of what they feel, so that it is crystal clear and they understand that you're not getting punished because you're feeling this emotion, but you're getting punished because of how you reacted to this emotion, which is also a teaching moment for to them for when they grow up, right? Because when they grow up, now they understand that it is not okay to exhibit some certain behaviors because you're feeling an emotion. But it's okay to feel the emotion so long as the behavior that manifests or that shows forth do not hurt them or other people. 7. Teach them independence. Stop solving all their problems for them. They're trying to tie their shoelace and you've taught them before and they're struggling with it. Don't jump in and do it for them. Let them keep struggling until they figure it out. They're trying to put their backpack on and they're struggling. Don't get me wrong, there's room to help your kids if that backpack is heavy, or you can aid them while they're doing it, but not that you swoop in and do everything for them. For instance, my kids, they're learning to make their bed and they don't do the best of jobs when it comes to fixing their bed. But guess what I do? I let them fix the bed to the best of their ability, or sometimes I aid them while they're trying to fix it so that we do a better job with the bed. But I don't ever have them step aside and I do everything for them. No, their hand is in the dirt and we do it together is the most we can do, right? Don't swoop in all the time to solve all your kids' problem. It also creates intelligent children when they start to learn problem solving on their own and not looking to expect mommy or daddy to solve all the problem. Again, remember what I said in the beginning. We're raising these kids to be independent individual. And if you're doing everything for them, guess what? In the future, even when they are grown, they are still looking to mommy and daddy to come help them solve problems. They're having difficulty with a relationship with a sibling. Don't just call them and be like, oh, be nice to your brother and be nice to your sister. No. Go talk to your brother. Go apologize to your brother. Go talk out your problem with your brother. You have issue with somebody, go talk it out with them, not mommy jumping in or daddy jumping in to solve all the problems for them. Teach them to self-soothe. Teach them to calm themselves. Your baby's crying, you jump in right away as soon as the baby starts crying and you carry the baby. Even when you know that the baby's fed, the baby's clean, the baby's changed, the baby's comfy, the weather is not too hot, their clothes is comfortable. So these are behaviors that we as parents start to exhibit from infancy for those children. Immediately the child is crying, even when you've done everything that needs for comfort, you jump in and you carry that child. No, let that child cry. That's how they learn to self-soothe. Crying has never killed anybody and would never kill anybody. When your baby is born and the baby does not cry, what do the doctors do? They spank the child so that the child cries. If the doctor wants a child to cry, why do you not want the child to cry? I get it, it's uncomfortable for you as a parent. But then again, like I said earlier on, you see that most of the issues we have with the behaviors and the emotions our kids exhibit has little to nothing to do with them, but everything to do with us as a parent. That cry, the baby's crying, is making you uncomfortable. That's why you're swooping in to soothe them right away so that they stop crying. Teach your kids to self-soothe. Like my daughter, when she's crying, I tell her, take time out, baby. Go cry. Do whatever you need to do. When you're ready to talk or when you're calm, come back and we'll talk. And that's not punishment because I'm not like putting her in a corner. She's going to find a space or just be by whatever she wants to do. But that's how they learn to self-soothe. Not every time they cry, mommy's carrying them, wrap them around, tapping their back and doing all of that. And then you find out that when those kids are older, emotion regulation is a problem for them. Or they're crying and you start to give them food, candy, snack. to help calm them down or soothe them. Unconsciously, you as a parent, you're starting to teach your child how to stress eat. You're teaching that child when they're in any emotional state, the way to soothe themselves is to eat. Because if that child is crying and every time they cry, you offer them candy, you offer them something so that they can keep quiet, you are teaching your child to stress eat. When that child gets older and they're in an emotional state, guess what they deflect to? Food. They give food the responsibility of helping calm or manage their emotion. 8. Age appropriate independence. A lot of parents like the idea of their kids being independent versus their kids being actually independent. Allow your kids to make mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning. Allow them make mistakes and don't jump in to solve their problems. Let them be accountable for their actions and not jumping in to rescue them at every given opportunity. So one of the things I started doing with my kids is they know what their bedtime is. I only give them the grace of reminding them still. It's 1 hour to your bedtime. You know all the things you need to do to go to bed. And if you don't do it, you're not going to bed. And if you don't go to bed, then you don't get enough sleep. And then you wake up in the morning and you're tired. I even went as far as letting their teachers know that if they come to school and they are tired, this is the reason why they are tired. Because I'm teaching my kids accountability. I kid you not, the first week, by the time they were getting up tired in the morning, they are like holding each other accountable now at night to be like, no, let's go do this. Let's do this. We need to brush our teeth. We need to do this. We need to do that to get ready for bed. Because if we don't, then we'll not get enough sleep and we'll be tired. Because one of the things that we as parents do is that we do a lot of talking, and these kids don't see the reality of those things that we're saying, which is one of the reasons why they don't take it seriously. Think about yourself when you were younger, the things that your parents were correcting you about that you were very uninterested in, right? Now in adulthood, because you've experienced those things firsthand, now those things your parents were telling you as a child is sinking in more, is making more sense, is being more real to you. You're understanding it better. Now it's not just words. It's not just mom nagging all the time and complaining and this and that. It's more, oh, this is the real reason why mom says I shouldn't do this or why dad says I shouldn't do this. 9, consistency. Consistency helps create stability for your kids. If there's inconsistency in parenting style, if dad is on this fast spectrum on raising kids and mom is on this other extreme in raising the kids, then there's already a conflict in parenting styles, right? Because one of the things we don't want to do is confuse the kids. You need to be on the same page so that you're sending the same message, because these kids are really smart. When they see that mom and dad do not align in terms of like parenting style and values, what ends up happening, you see them pawning the two parents together. They ask mom for this thing and mom doesn't give them. You know what they do? They go in the back and they go ask dad, and then dad gives it to them, right? There needs to be a consistency when raising the kids. There needs to be a consistency in schedule as much as possible, right? As much as possible. I'll say that and I'll emphasize that as much as possible. 10, boundaries. Boundaries also align with consistency, right? Say what you mean and mean what you say. Don't tell the kids, if you don't do this, you get grounded. And then they don't do it. And then you don't follow through with what you're saying. They will start to call your words bluff. If you say something, mean what you say and say what you mean. Don't tell your kids, oh, you can't watch TV past 10 o'clock, that's your bedtime. And then today they watch TV past their bedtime. Tomorrow they did it. Next tomorrow they watch past their bedtime. That inconsistency, that lack of boundaries. Because guess what? Children will push boundaries to see how far they can go. And if they're pushing boundaries and you're just letting it slack, it's not going to stick. Again, one thing with boundaries is that we set boundaries with people we love. We don't set boundaries as a tool for hate. It's more for love. It's more for consistency. It's more for maturity for the kids, right? so that they also learn to respect other people's boundaries out there. So that when people tell them no, they understand that, yeah, people's no is no. Don't, when they say no, don't try to push any further. All right. And they respect people's spaces. Teach them that at home, teach them boundaries, not just for them at other people, but also other people at them, such that if you have a loose boundary as a parent, what you're teaching your children invariably is that boundaries don't matter. Again, a child is a product of their environment. If they grow up with parents who do not know how to set boundaries, those kids in themselves will not know how to set boundaries either with other people. They would not know. And they also need to learn how to set boundaries. Like I said, you as a parent, you're your child's first teacher. So the first person that should teach a child what boundaries are, it's you as a parent, and you don't teach them by telling them, you teach them by doing it, and they emulate what they see you do, because kids are like sponges. They absorb what they see. 11, be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable around your kids. Parents say things like, I don't want my children to see me cry. Why not? Why not? It teaches them to embrace their emotions. It teaches them it's okay to cry, because it is okay to cry. Your kids seeing you, their parents, who they view as strong, being vulnerable, teaches them that vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It removes that shame that people feel from being vulnerable, from being weak. It removes it from them. And they're easily able to express their emotion, embrace their emotion without the guilt and the shame. 12, affirm them. Don't use mean, condescending, and demeaning language at your kids. This can easily affect their self-esteem. Like I said in the beginning, raising kids require a lot of patience. Parenting requires a lot of patience. And I know that sometimes kids can test your patience. But this is why my first tip for you as a parent is to heal yourself. When you heal yourself, when your kids are being, in quotes, difficult, being stubborn, it doesn't get you to where it pushes your button and you react more than you would want to. You'll be able to curtail your tongue. You'll be able to use your words nicely. You'll be able to manage your emotion as a parent and not respond to their emotional state or behavior at that point in time in an emotional way where you end up saying things that you didn't mean, using harsh words at them. Affirm your kids. Let them know how beautiful they are. Let them know that they are the best child in the world, even though they misbehave sometimes. So do we as adults. So do we. Affirm them. Teach them positive affirmations. Use any moments that could create an avenue or a loophole for low self-esteem to affirm them. Jump in there when they fail at something. Use that opportunity to let them know that irrespective of the fact that they failed at this, that they are great and they are this and they are that. Remind them of their previous wins. It doesn't hurt for you as a parent to start to teach your child how to affirm themselves, to start to teach them positive affirmations. There's no age that is too early to learn that. This is one of the ways that they build self-confidence. 13, teach your kids healthy coping skills. If your child is crying and having a nervous moment, walk them through a breathing exercise. If they're angry, walk them through a breathing exercise. Get them connected to their environment. Take walks with them every now and then. Let them experience the outdoors. When you're exercising, let them be around you. Let them see you exercise. Exercise alongside with them. Again, depending on how old they are. They are not too small to start to get into the routine with you, even if they're not exercising as vigorously as you. Don't exclude them from these things. This is how they learn, most especially when it starts to get imbibed and inculcated into them at such a young age. It has a much more higher likelihood to stick with them. After all said and done as parents, please remember that you're doing the best you can with what you got. Don't beat yourself down as a parent. Beating yourself down does not change or fix anything. If you didn't know better, it's okay. Now that you know, you're learning. Get self-help books. There are a lot of videos on YouTube, good videos that teaches you how to raise your kids, to be mentally healthy, to be stable, raise your kids well. There are all that resources available to you to utilize. Even if you didn't get that firsthand experience from your family, from your parents, from your caregivers, from your upbringing, you can still learn those behaviors. Bad kids are not a result of bad parenting. I have seen great parents who did the best they can with their kids, and their kids still turn out the way they want to. If your kid is acting out, please do not take that shame, that pain, that guilt on yourself and conclude that it's because you did something wrong or something is wrong with you. That's why your kids turned out that way. Sometimes you can do all the best you know how to do, and the kids will still end up how they end up. So do your best and leave the rest. I always say anything that happens in a child's life before the age of 18 is the responsibility of the parent. However, once that child is past age 18, anything that happens in their life from there on out is their responsibility. Granted that if the parenting is flawed, it makes the adulting hard, but it doesn't make the adulting impossible. Again, don't forget the link to my ebook on how to raise mentally healthy kids is attached in the description below. Please click it and buy. The book is very affordable for anybody to purchase. So click the link in the description to purchase that book on how to raise mentally healthy kids. And also leave me comments. Let me know what your thoughts are about the ebook. Alrighty? Let me know in the comment section any other thoughts you have or any other tips you have on how to raise mentally healthy kids. Bye.